5 years later, I became a billionaire and they showed up at my door begging for cash, but I did this. Your offer is insultingly low, Ethan began, his voice tight. Virtual Shield is worth 3 times that. Was worth, Adam corrected, finally looking up from his papers. Before the data breaches, before the client exodus, before the SEC began their informal inquiry into your trading practices, you engineered all of that. 5 years ago, they laughed at my struggles and turned their backs when I needed them most. Now, I'm a billionaire, and guess who came knocking, begging for a handout? What I did next will leave you speechless. Stay tuned to find out how I handled the ultimate twist of fate. The fluorescent lights of Grant's computer repair buzzed overhead as Adam Grant stared at the pile of unpaid bills scattered across his desk. The clock on the wall ticked past 9:45 p.m., each sound echoing in the empty shop. His eyes burned from hours of analyzing spreadsheets, trying to eke out a few more dollars from his modest business budget. Mr. Grant? Mike, his newest technician, poked his head into the office, uncertainty clear in his hesitant posture. I finished the data recovery from Mrs. Chin's laptop. Should I call her tonight or wait until morning? Adam rubbed his tired eyes. What time is her backup scheduled for? 6 a.m. tomorrow, Mike replied. Then call her now, Adam said. She runs a bakery. She'll need those recipes before opening. He managed a small smile. And Mike, good work today. I saw how you handled that difficult customer this morning. Mike's face brightened. Thanks, Mr. Grant. I just did what you taught me. Patience first, solution second. As Mike left to make the call, Adam's smile faded. His philosophy had always been about building trust, putting people first and profit second. Jessica had called it weak. Other repair shops charge rush fees. She complained last week. You're leaving money on the table. Her words still stung. His phone buzzed with a text from her. Don't bother picking up dinner. I already ate. Adam's jaw tightened. He'd promised to bring home takeout from Valentino's, her favorite Italian restaurant, as a peace offering after their argument that morning. She had compared their modest 3-bedroom house to her friend Margaret's new mansion in Crystal Heights. We could have that too if you weren't so afraid to take risks, she'd snapped over breakfast, gesturing at a magazine spread featuring luxury real estate. Other men know how to provide for their families. Look at Margaret's husband. He started his company the same year you opened this shop. And now they have a pool house bigger than our entire home. The shop's front door chimed, breaking Adam's thoughts. Through the office window, he watched Mrs. Chun hurry in, still wearing her flour-dusted apron. Mike greeted her with professional warmth, explaining the data recovery process as he returned her laptop. You saved my recipes? Mrs. Chun clutched the computer to her chest. My mother's recipes? My grandmother's everything? Yes, ma'am, Mike assured her. Mr. Grant personally supervised the work. We also set up an automatic cloud backup to prevent future problems. Tears welled in Mrs. Chun's eyes. How much for the backup? It's included in the standard service, Mike replied, following Adam's policy. Mr. Grant believes in protecting our customers' data. Adam watched as Mrs. Chun tried to press extra money into Mike's hands, which he politely declined. This was why his business thrived on word of mouth rather than flashy advertising. Trust was built slowly, but it lasted. After Mrs. Chun left, Adam finished the day's paperwork. The numbers weren't terrible, but they weren't great either. The shop covered its expenses and provided modest salaries for his small team. But it wasn't the rapid growth Jessica dreamed of. Time to lock up, Mike, Adam called out. Good job today. You too, Mr. Grant. Hope things are better at home. Mike hesitated. I couldn't help overhearing Mrs. Grant this morning when she dropped off your lunch. She seemed upset. Adam's stomach churned at the memory. Jessica had stormed into the shop around noon, dropping a paper bag on his desk. I had lunch with Margaret, she'd announced. Her husband just bought her a 3rd car. A car, Adam. Meanwhile, I'm driving a 4-year-old BMW like some middle manager's wife. He had tried to explain about reinvesting in the business and focusing on sustainable growth, but she'd cut him off. Adam pushed the memory aside as he gathered his things. Everything's fine, Mike. See you tomorrow. The young technician's concerned expression suggested he didn't believe it, but he nodded and left. Adam locked up the shop, his 10-year-old Toyota sitting alone in the empty parking lot. The engine coughed before starting, Another thing Jessica complained about. The drive home felt longer than usual. Streetlights cast alternating shadows across his face as he rehearsed what he'd say to her. Maybe tonight they could have a real conversation about their marriage, about the growing distance between them. He'd explain his plans for expanding the business, show her the projections for their new data security service. Traffic was light in their suburban neighborhood. Adam noticed an unfamiliar black Mercedes parked across the street from their house. Probably one of Jessica's new friends. She'd been spending more time with the country club crowd lately, despite his concerns about the membership fees. Their modest two-story home looked different in the evening light, smaller somehow. Or maybe it was just Jessica's constant comparisons affecting his perception. The house had seemed perfect when they bought it 5 years ago. Jessica had loved the bay window in the living room, spending weeks choosing curtains and arranging furniture. Now, she called it a starter home with the same tone someone might use for a starter marriage. Adam parked in the driveway, noting the silence. Usually, he could hear Samantha's music or the TV through the front door. Tonight, the house felt unnaturally quiet. He grabbed his briefcase, straightened his tie, and took a deep breath. Whatever mood Jessica was in, he'd handle it with patience. That's what marriage was about, working through the hard times together. If only he'd known those would be his last moments of believing in their marriage. If only he'd recognized the silence for what it was. The calm before a storm that would destroy everything he'd built his life around. Adam reached for the door handle, unaware that on the other side, his wife and daughter were preparing to shatter his world into pieces too small to ever fully reassemble. "Jessica?" Adam called out as he entered the house, hanging his jacket by the door. The silence felt different up close, heavy with intention. "Sam, in here." Jessica's voice carried from the living room, sharp as broken glass. Adam walked in and froze. Jessica sat perched on the edge of their sofa, wearing a black designer dress he'd never seen before, her dark hair styled in an elegant updo that spoke of professional attention. Samantha sat beside her, their 17-year-old daughter's face a mirror of her mother's cold expression. "We need to talk," Jessica said, still not meeting his eyes. Her manicured fingers toyed with a strand of pearls that definitely hadn't come from him. Adam's chest tightened. "What's going on?" "I suppose we should thank you," Jessica began, her tone dripping with false sweetness. "Your predictable late nights at the shop made everything so much easier to arrange." "Arrange what?" But even as he asked, Adam knew. The signs had been there. The new clothes, the frequent lunches with friends, the growing disdain in her eyes when she looked at him. Jessica stood, smoothing her dress with deliberate care. "I'm done pretending, Adam. Done playing the supportive wife while you waste your life tinkering with broken computers. Done watching other women enjoy the finer things while I'm stuck in this." She gestured around their living room with evident disgust. "This mediocrity. If this is about money again," Adam started, but Jessica's harsh laugh cut him off. "Money? No, Adam. This is about ambition. About living versus merely existing. This is about me finally finding someone who understands the difference." The pieces clicked into place, the black Mercedes across the street, the expensive dress, the cruel anticipation in her eyes. "You're having an affair," Adam said, the words feeling like ash in his mouth. "An affair implies something tawdry and secret," Jessica corrected, lifting her chin. "What I have with Ethan is different. He's everything you're not. Successful, driven, wealthy. A man who understands that life is meant to be lived, not merely survived." Ethan Cole. The name tasted bitter. The businessman had appeared at local charity events 6 months ago, all expensive suits and practice charm. "You're leaving me for Ethan Cole?" Adam asked, his voice faltering. "He's taking us to Paris next month," Samantha chimed in, her voice carrying the same contempt as her mother's. "First-class tickets, 5-star hotels. When was the last time you took us anywhere besides the state fair?" Adam stared at his daughter, this stranger wearing Samantha's face. "Sam, please. Money isn't everything. We have a good life." "No, you have the life you want," Samantha shot back, standing to join her mother. "A boring, small life for a boring, small man. Do you know how embarrassing it is telling my friends my dad owns a repair shop?" Madison's dad just bought her a Tesla for her birthday, and I can't even get a decent allowance because you're too cheap, too responsible, Adam corrected, struggling to keep his voice steady. Too focused on building something real, something that lasts. 17 years, Jessica interrupted coldly. 17 years I've listened to your excuses about building slowly and being responsible. Well, I'm 42, Adam. I refuse to waste another day living like this. The sound of expensive shoes on the hardwood floor made them all turn. Ethan Cole stood in the doorway, his silver hair perfectly styled, his tailored suit likely worth more than Adam's monthly revenue. "Everything ready, darling?" Ethan asked Jessica, completely ignoring Adam's presence. His voice carried the practiced smoothness of someone used to getting his way. "Yes." Jessica grabbed a designer handbag from the sofa, another new purchase Adam had never seen. "Samantha, get your suitcase," Jessica instructed. "Already packed," Samantha replied, shooting Adam a dismissive look. "I've been ready to leave this dump for weeks." Adam watched in stunned silence as Ethan's driver appeared, carrying several expensive-looking suitcases. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision. They had planned this, choreographed his humiliation down to the last detail. "The savings," Adam said suddenly, his mind racing to catch up. "Our joint account." Jessica's smile turned predatory. "Already transferred to my private account. Consider it compensation for wasting my best years on you." She patted her handbag. "Don't worry. I left enough for you to keep your precious shop running. Though God knows why you'd want to. It's as much a failure as you are." "You can't just take our savings," Adam protested, his voice rising. "That money was for Sam's college fund. For our retirement." "Please," Jessica scoffed, as if community college needs a fund. Besides, Ethan's already arranged for Samantha to attend a proper university, one befitting her new social status. "My new father can actually provide for me," Samantha added, her cruel words delivered with teenage precision. "Unlike you." Adam felt the floor shift beneath his feet. This couldn't be happening. Not after 17 years. Not after everything they'd built together. "Jessica, please," he tried one last time. "We can work through this. Go to counseling." "Work through what?" Jessica spun to face him, her eyes blazing. "Your complete lack of ambition? Your contentment with mediocrity? Face it, Adam, you're a loser. Always have been, always will be. The only mistake I made was not seeing it sooner." "The papers will come through your office," Ethan said, speaking for the first time, his tone dismissive. "I trust you won't make this difficult. Jessica and Samantha deserve their happiness." "Their happiness," Adam repeated, the words hollow. "You mean your money?" "Same thing, isn't it?" Ethan smirked, placing a proprietary hand on Jessica's waist. "After all, that's what your wife just told you." "Ex-wife," Jessica corrected, leaning into Ethan's touch. "Come on, darling. The jet's waiting, and I'm dying to see the house in Aspen." They moved toward the door, Samantha already texting on a new phone. No doubt another gift from Ethan. Adam stood rooted to the spot, watching his family walk away as if he meant nothing. At the threshold, Samantha paused. For a fleeting moment, Adam thought he saw something in her eyes, doubt, perhaps, or memory. But then Jessica called out, "Sam, honey, don't forget your new credit card," and the moment shattered. "Yeah, Dad," Samantha said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "Have fun fixing other people's computers while we're living the good life. Maybe if you work really hard, you can afford to buy a car made this decade." And then they were gone, leaving Adam alone in the living room that suddenly felt too big and unbearably empty. Through the window, he watched Ethan help them into the sleek Mercedes. Jessica leaned up to kiss him before sliding into the passenger seat. The car's engine purred to life, a sound of wealth and power that faded into the night, taking with it his wife, his daughter, and any illusions Adam had about love being enough. The house creaked in the silence that followed, now absolute. On the mantel, family photos stared back at him, mocking him with smiling faces that now seemed like masks. Moments he had thought were genuine now felt staged. When had Jessica's smile become false? When had Samantha's love turned conditional on his bank balance? He moved through the house like a ghost, noting the empty spaces where Jessica's things had been. The walk-in closet stood half bare. The vanity was stripped of its expensive creams and perfumes. Samantha's room, once vibrant, was now barren. Her posters of Paris and Milan gone, along with her dreams of luxury. Finally, in his home office, Adam's computer hummed to life. The joint account balance stared back at him. $212.47. She'd taken everything. Nearly $80,000 they had saved over years of careful budgeting. Money meant for Samantha's education, for their retirement, and for the business expansion he had been planning. The betrayal was complete. His wife, his daughter, and his savings were all gone in a single evening, sacrificed on the altar of greed and status. Shame and humiliation burned at his chest as he thought of his employees at the shop, the vendors he owed money to. How would he make payroll? Pay his bills? Everything he had worked for now teetered on the edge, and Jessica had pushed it over. One day, he whispered into the darkness, his hands clenching into fists. One day, they'll regret this. It wasn't just a promise. It was a vow, written in the ashes of his destroyed marriage and sealed with the bitter taste of betrayal. Jessica and Samantha thought him weak, a failure. They had thrown away his love for the promise of luxury. Fine. Let them enjoy their champagne and mansions. Let them think they'd won. Because Adam Grant was done being the nice guy, the patient husband, the forgiving father. They wanted him to be a loser? He'd show them just how wrong they were. The first light of dawn found Adam still at his computer, methodically documenting everything. The bank statements laid bare the timing of Jessica's betrayal. She had been moving small amounts for months, testing the waters before the final transfer. Each transaction told a story of premeditation and calculated destruction. His phone buzzed periodically with messages from concerned friends. News traveled fast in their social circle, but he ignored them all, focusing instead on emails to his attorney and accountant. Jessica might have planned her exit meticulously, but Adam had spent years building relationships in the business community. People owed him favors. At 6 a.m., when his shop opened, he called Mike. "Mr. Grant?" Mike answered, concern evident in his voice. "I was just heading in. Take charge today," Adam interrupted, his voice steady despite his sleepless night. "You'll find revised opening procedures in your email. Call me only for emergencies." "Yes, sir. But are you okay?" "My wife saw Mrs. Grant at Crystal Heights Country Club yesterday with..." "I'm fine." The lie came easily. "Just business to handle. You know how to reach me." And with that, Adam hung up, ready to begin a new chapter of his life. One driven not by love or trust, but by sheer determination to rebuild everything he had lost. And when the time came, they would see the man they underestimated rise like a phoenix from the ashes. Adam ended the call and stood, his joints protesting after hours spent hunched over the desk. In the bathroom mirror, he hardly recognized himself. Dark circles shadowed his eyes, and his usually neat hair was disheveled from repeatedly running his hands through it. "You're a loser," Jessica's voice echoed in his memory. "Always have been, always will be." Adam straightened his spine, studying his reflection with new determination. His clothes, though clean and professional, spoke of modest success, the kind Jessica had grown to despise. Everything about him had been carefully calculated to appear trustworthy, reliable, and safe. And look where that had gotten him. The safety deposit box key felt heavy in his pocket as he drove downtown. Traffic was light this early, the financial district's towers catching the morning sun like beacons of possibility, or warning signs, depending on how you looked at it. "Good morning, Mr. Grant," the bank manager greeted him, her professional demeanor masking any curiosity she might have felt. Had Jessica already been here, flaunting her new life? "How can we assist you today?" she asked. "My grandfather's watch," Adam said simply. "I need to access my safety deposit box." The Patek Philippe watch had been in his family for 3 generations. His grandfather, a watchmaker turned businessman, had purchased it to mark his first major success. "Never sell it, Adam," his grandfather had said on his deathbed. "It's not just a timepiece. It's a reminder that patience and precision lead to prosperity." Adam had once intended to give it to Samantha on her college graduation. But now, as he watched the bank manager unlock the box, he felt a grim satisfaction. His grandfather would have understood using this legacy as a weapon rather than an heirloom. The watch dealer's office occupied the penthouse floor of a downtown high-rise. Marcus Chun, the dealer, had spent years trying to acquire the Patek Philippe, always respecting Adam's refusal to sell. "Adam," Marcus said, standing as Adam entered. Genuine surprise colored his tone. "I didn't expect to see you. Please sit. What brings you here?" "The watch," Adam replied, placing the leather case on Marcus's desk. "You made an offer last year. Is it still good?" Marcus studied him carefully. "My offer has actually increased. The market for vintage Patek Philippe's, especially with documented family provenance, I could offer $200,000. He paused, sensing something beneath Adam's calm demeanor. "But Adam, are you sure? This watch was meant for your daughter's graduation." Adam's voice was flat. Plans change. Understanding dawned in Marcus's eyes. I heard rumors. Crystal Heights is a small community." "The watch, Marcus. Just the watch." 2 hours later, Adam sat in his car, staring at the cashier's check. $200,000, more than double what Jessica had stolen. Seed money for his transformation. His phone buzzed again. A text from Jessica. "The movers are coming for the rest of my things tomorrow. Don't be there." The message ignited something in Adam's mind. He started the car, heading not toward home or his shop, but to Industrial Boulevard. The for lease sign on the abandoned tech startup's office stood weather-beaten and forgotten. Adam had considered the space months ago, only to dismiss it as too ambitious for his modest expansion plans. Now, as he peered through the dusty windows at the vast open floor plan, he saw something entirely different. This wasn't just an office. It was a command center, a place to rebuild, to plan, to execute. His phone rang. The caller ID read Richard Wong, Venture Capital. "Adam." Richard's voice carried a cautious neutrality. "Heard you might be making some changes. Feel like having lunch?" 6 months ago, Richard had approached Adam about his data security patents, offering funding for expansion. Adam had declined, preferring to grow organically and safely. But now, standing in the empty office space that could hold 50 workstations, safety was the last thing on his mind. "Lunch would be good," Adam replied. "But first, I need you to meet me somewhere. Bring your checkbook." "The Industrial Boulevard property?" Richard sounded intrigued. "That's ambitious. You don't know the half of it." Adam glanced at his reflection in the dusty windows, seeing not the reliable small business owner he once was, but the man he needed to become. "1 hour? I'll bring the paperwork." Adam ended the call and immediately dialed the real estate agent. The building's owner had been trying to lease the space for months. It was time to make an offer they couldn't refuse. His next call was to a security firm recommended by Marcus. "If I'm going to play on Ethan Cole's level," Adam thought, "I need to understand how the wealthy protect their interests." "We provide comprehensive services," the firm's director explained. "Personal security, background investigations, asset protection, everything." "I want everything," Adam interrupted. "And I want to start today." He had $200,000, a mind full of marketable patents, and nothing left to lose. Jessica thought she'd stripped him of everything valuable, but in reality, she'd done him a favor. Without attachments or the responsibilities of a family that valued only wealth, Adam could now take the risks she had always accused him of avoiding. Running his business conservatively had been about protecting their shared future. Now that future was gone, replaced by a single driving purpose: revenge. As a light rain began to fall, Adam waited for Richard in the empty parking lot. Each drop blurred his reflection in the window, washing away the man he had been. By the time Richard's BMW pulled into the lot, Adam Grant, reliable small business owner, devoted husband, loving father, had vanished. In his place stood someone harder, someone who understood that nice guys didn't win. They were just comfortable stepping stones for people like Jessica and Ethan. Well, this stepping stone was about to become a mountain. And when Adam was done, when he built something so monumental it made Ethan Cole's wealth look like pocket change, Jessica and Samantha would understand exactly what they had thrown away. But first, Adam had an empire to build. Richard emerged from his car, a leather portfolio in hand, ready to talk business. Adam greeted him with a cold smile, a look that would have startled anyone who knew him before. "More than ready," Adam said. "Let's make some waves." The two men entered the building, their footsteps echoing through the empty space. Each step took Adam further from his past and closer to his future. Jessica and Samantha had chosen their path. Now he would show them his. The rain intensified outside, a curtain of water separating Adam's old life from his new one. His phone buzzed in his pocket. Likely another message from Jessica about the divorce, her new life, or the things she thought he couldn't provide. Let her text. Let her think she'd won. Every message was just more fuel for the fire building inside him. Adam Grant wasn't done. Not by a long shot. He was just getting started. By the time Adam finished with Richard and the real estate agent, the Industrial Boulevard property was officially his, along with a substantial investment commitment for his new venture. His data security patents, combined with Richard's connections, would form the foundation of something much greater than a computer repair shop. In the growing darkness, Adam drove back to his soon-to-be former home. He needed to pack, to clear out before Jessica's movers arrived the next day. But first, there was one more call to make. His attorney answered on the first ring. "Adam, I've been trying to reach you." Adam's voice was steady, determined. "I'm ready now." Adam replied, his voice steady. "Draw up the papers. Give Jessica exactly what she wants. The divorce, the house, everything. Make it quick and clean. Are you sure? We could fight this, especially the unauthorized bank transfers. No fights." Adam's tone left no room for argument. "Let her think she's won. I have bigger plans." He ended the call and sat in his car, staring at the house where he had spent the last 5 years building what he thought was a happy life. The lights were off, the windows dark, a perfect reflection of his marriage, a facade hiding the shadows within. Tomorrow, he would start fresh. New office, new business plan, new life. Jessica and Samantha wanted to see him as a loser. He would show them what a real winner looked like. And when he was done, they would finally understand the true cost of betrayal. 5 years later, the floor-to-ceiling windows of Grant Technologies' penthouse office offered a commanding view of the city skyline. Adam Grant stood by the glass, watching the morning sun reflect off the neighboring buildings. His reflection revealed a transformed man, a tailored suit, a confident posture, and cold, unyielding eyes that no longer knew weakness. "Mr. Grant," his executive assistant's voice came through the intercom. "Mr. Wong is here for your meeting. Send him in, Claire." Richard Wong had aged well over the past 5 years, his hair now lightly dusted with gray. He strode into the office with the confidence of a man who had placed the right bet at the right time. "Adam," Richard greeted with a grin, extending his hand. "Or should I say, Mr. Grant, now that you're the talk of every boardroom in the city?" Adam's handshake was firm but brief. "Surprised to see me succeed?" "Richard's? Surprised? I invested in you, remember?" Richard chuckled. "Though I'll admit, even I didn't expect this level of success." Richard settled into one of the leather chairs opposite Adam's desk. "Your data security patents were valuable, but what you've built, it's unprecedented." Speaking of building, Adam said as he sat behind his desk, "How's Ethan Cole's latest venture performing?" Richard's expression shifted. Still keeping tabs on him? Professional curiosity? Adam's tone remained neutral, but his eyes hardened. "I heard rumors about instability in his tech investments." "Rumors?" Richard laughed. "The man's bleeding money. 3 failed startups in 2 years. His real estate ventures are underwater. And that new social media platform he backed? Complete disaster." Adam allowed himself a small smile. "Market forces can be unpredictable." "Market forces?" Richard leaned forward. "Come on, Adam. We both know what's happening. The mysterious data breaches that tanked his security firm. The anonymous tips to regulators about irregularities in his real estate deals. The sudden exodus of his key employees. All of them conveniently landing at your subsidiaries. Sounds like he's having a run of bad luck," Adam said, his voice cool. "Luck?" Richard shook his head. "You've orchestrated every bit of it. The question is why? You're worth more than him now. Your company's tech is revolutionizing the industry. Why waste time destroying Ethan Cole?" Adam stood, walking back to the window. You ever play chess, Richard? Sometimes. Why? The queen is the most powerful piece. But to win, you don't target the queen directly. You isolate it, remove its defenders, and cut off its escape routes. Then, when the moment's right, Adam turned, his expression glacial. Checkmate is inevitable. And Ethan Cole is your opponent's queen? No. Adam's gaze was unrelenting. He's just another pawn who thought he could play on my board. Adam's voice carried a hint of satisfaction. He's just a pawn who thought he was a king. The intercom buzzed again. Mr. Grant? The board members are gathering for the quarterly meeting. Thank you, Claire. Adam straightened his tie. Care to join us, Richard? You might find today's announcements interesting. Wouldn't miss it. They took the private elevator to the conference level. Through the glass walls, Adam could see his board members assembling. Industry veterans who had scoffed at him 5 years ago, now eager to associate with his success. One question, Richard said as they approached the boardroom. If Cole's the pawn, who's the real target? Adam didn't answer, but his mind flashed to that morning society page. Jessica Cole, photographed at another charity gala, draped in designer clothes and diamonds. The article praised her philanthropic work, her position on museum boards, her seemingly perfect life. Let her enjoy it. For now, the boardroom fell silent as Adam entered. 12 faces turned toward him, a mix of respect and wariness in their expressions. They had learned that Adam Grant's quiet demeanor masked a ruthless strategic mind. Ladies and gentlemen, Adam began, taking his place at the head of the table. Before we discuss quarterly results, I have an announcement. Grant Technologies is acquiring Virtual Shield systems. Murmurs rippled through the room. Virtual Shield was Ethan Cole's largest remaining asset, his primary source of income. But sir, one board member spoke up, Virtual Shield stock has been declining. Their technology is outdated. Precisely. Adam's smile didn't reach his eyes. We'll be acquiring them at a significant discount. Their client list, however, remains valuable. Cole will never sell, another board member objected. He's too proud. Pride is expensive, Adam interrupted. And Mr. Cole's financial situation is precarious. Our offer will be generous, considering the circumstances. My sources tell me his creditors are getting impatient. Richard watched from the corner, understanding dawning in his eyes. This wasn't just business. It was systematic destruction. The paperwork is ready, Adam continued. Our legal team has prepared for every contingency. By this time next month, Virtual Shield's assets will belong to us, and its employees will be evaluated individually. Adam's tone made it clear that some evaluations had already been decided. Those who demonstrate loyalty to the company rather than personal allegiances will find opportunities here. The meeting continued, but Adam's thoughts had already moved to the next phase of his plan. Virtual Shield's acquisition would cut off Ethan's last major source of income. The man's lifestyle, the mansion, the cars, the private jets Jessica adored, required constant cash flow. When that flow stopped, the intercom buzzed softly. Mr. Grant? There's a call from Crystal Heights Academy. Something about an overdue tuition payment for Samantha Cole. Adam's expression remained neutral, but satisfaction coursed through him. Right on schedule. Take a message, he instructed. Let Jessica handle that particular embarrassment. Let her feel the first tremors of the earthquake I've engineered. One more item, Adam addressed the board. Our charitable foundation will be announcing a major initiative next week. We'll be funding scholarships for underprivileged students, full rides to top universities. The board members nodded approvingly. Such philanthropy was expected from successful companies. Only Richard noticed the cold calculation in Adam's eyes. This wasn't charity. It was another move in his game. When Samantha Cole lost her spot at her prestigious private school due to unpaid tuition, the contrast was stark. Adam Grant, the man championing underprivileged students and helping them achieve their dreams, stood in sharp contrast to Ethan Cole, who couldn't even maintain his stepdaughter's education. The board meeting ended, with members filing out in their usual mix of deference and haste. Only Richard lingered. Impressive performance, he commented once they were alone. But Adam, is all this really necessary? You've already won. You're more successful than Cole ever was. Adam's response was interrupted by his phone buzzing. A text from an unknown number read, "Please, we need to talk. Jay." 5 years of silence. And now she wanted to talk. Adam deleted the message without responding. "Necessary," he finally answered Richard. "No, this stopped being about necessity a long time ago. Then what is it about?" Adam turned to the window, his reflection overlaying the city below. "Chess pieces don't ask why they're moved, Richard. They just play their part until the game is won. And when will you consider it won?" The cold smile returned to Adam's face. When they understand exactly what they threw away. When they realize that everything they valued, wealth, status, luxury, was as fragile as their loyalty. His phone buzzed again. Another text. "Adam, please. Things are getting difficult. We should discuss this like adults. Jay." Delete. Turning back to Richard, Adam said, "Let's discuss how we're going to acquire Virtual Shield for less than half its market value. Because that's what Jessica and Ethan needed to learn. Everything they thought they owned, everything they had built their perfect life upon, was just a loan from fate. And fate, like Adam Grant, could be merciless when it came time to collect." The Crystal Heights Country Club dining room hummed with lunchtime conversations, silver clinking against fine china as the city's elite maintained their carefully curated social connections. Adam sat at his usual corner table, reviewing acquisition documents while waiting for his next meeting. "Mr. Grant," the maitre d' approached with visible deference. "Mr. Cole is here to see you. Send him over." Adam didn't look up from his papers. Ethan Cole's expensive Italian shoes clicked against the marble floor, each step less confident than they had been 6 months ago. The man himself looked tired, his silver hair less perfectly styled, his designer's suit showing subtle signs of wear. "Grant," Ethan began, remaining standing in an attempt to maintain some illusion of superiority. "We need to discuss your offer for Virtual Shield." "Sit down, Ethan." Adam's tone made it clear this wasn't a request. "You're making the other members uncomfortable." Ethan's jaw clenched, but he sat. A waiter appeared instantly with water and menus. The staff had learned to anticipate Adam's needs. "Your offer is insultingly low," Ethan began, his voice tight. "Virtual Shield is worth 3 times that." "Was worth," Adam corrected, finally looking up from his papers. "Before the data breaches, before the client exodus, before the SEC began their informal inquiry into your trading practices, you engineered all of that. Prove it." Adam's smile was razor-sharp. "Your company's failings are well documented. My offer is more than generous, considering the circumstances." "Generous?" Ethan leaned forward, desperation creeping into his voice. "You're trying to steal my company for pennies on the dollar. I built Virtual Shield from nothing, like you built your marriage?" Adam's words cut through Ethan's protests like a scalpel. "Taking what belonged to someone else, assuming you'd never face consequences?" Color drained from Ethan's face. "This isn't about Jessica." "No," Adam signaled the waiter. "Interesting that your mind went there. How is married life, by the way? I hear Crystal Heights Academy is rather strict about their tuition payment schedule." "You bastard," Ethan whispered. "You're behind the bank's sudden audit of my accounts?" "The banking industry is heavily regulated, Ethan. Institutions must conduct due diligence, especially with clients showing irregular patterns." The waiter arrived with a bottle of wine, a $1,000 vintage Adam had pre-ordered. He poured a glass for Adam, then looked questioningly at Ethan. "None for me," Ethan muttered. "This won't take long." "Shame." Adam sipped his wine. "It's excellent, though perhaps beyond your current budget. Is this what you wanted?" "To gloat." Gloating implies emotional investment. Adam's voice remained coldly professional. "This is business, Ethan. Your company is failing. I'm offering you a lifeline. Take it, or watch Virtual Shield collapse entirely. You're enjoying this. Should I not? You took such pleasure in taking what was mine. Called yourself a real man while destroying my family." Adam's eyes hardened. "Now you'll learn what a real man does when crossed." The club's door opened, admitting Jessica Cole in a designer dress that had seen better days. Her stride faltered when she saw Adam and Ethan together. "Perfect timing," Adam commented as Jessica approached their table. "We were just discussing Virtual Shield's future. Adam, Jessica's voice wavered slightly. I've been trying to reach you. Have you? I've been rather busy. Building an empire takes time. As I'm sure Ethan has explained, though perhaps not recently. Jessica's hand clutched her purse. Last season's model, Adam noted. This vendetta needs to stop. You've made your point. Vendetta? Adam raised an eyebrow. I'm simply conducting business. Isn't that what you wanted? A man with ambition? Our joint accounts are frozen, Jessica hissed. The credit cards aren't working. Samantha's school is threatening to expel her. How unfortunate. Adam's tone suggested it was anything but. Perhaps you should discuss financial management with your husband. I hear he's quite skilled at spending other people's money. This is beneath you. Ethan tried, but Adam cut him off with a soft laugh. Beneath me? Like I was beneath you both? Tell me, how does it feel watching your perfect life crumble? We'll fight the virtual shield takeover, Ethan declared, though his voice lacked conviction. With what resources? Adam placed a document on the table. Your lawyers quit this morning. Something about unpaid fees. But don't worry. I'm sure you can find representation willing to work pro bono. Jessica sank into a chair, her composure cracking. Adam, please. What do you want? What? Adam stood, straightening his tie. I have everything I want. A successful company. Respect in the business community. He leaned closer, lowering his voice just enough for them to hear. And the satisfaction of watching you lose everything. Without another word, Adam turned and walked away, leaving Jessica and Ethan sitting in the ruins of the empire they thought they'd stolen. The power to choose who rises and who falls. Adam smiled coldly. Isn't that what you left me for? You're destroying us, Jessica whispered. No, Jessica. You destroyed yourselves the moment you chose greed over loyalty. Adam gathered his papers. The virtual shield offer expires in 48 hours, Ethan. After that, I'll let the vultures have what's left. You can't do this, Ethan protested weakly. I already have. Adam signaled for the check. Oh, and Jessica, do give Samantha my regards. I hear the public school system has improved considerably since your day. He left them sitting there, broken and bewildered, their half-empty water glasses a stark contrast to his fine wine. Through the club's windows, he could see his driver waiting with a Bentley, a car chosen specifically because it was the model Jessica had always wanted. His phone buzzed with a message from Claire. Mr. Grant, the Crystal Heights Academy Board is ready to accept your foundation's endowment offer. Perfect timing. By tomorrow, the press would announce Grant Technology's generous donation to the prestigious school, just as Samantha Cole lost her place there due to unpaid fees. In the car, Adam reviewed his next moves. Virtual Shield's acquisition would devastate Ethan financially, but that was just the beginning. The real estate market was softening, and Ethan's over-leveraged properties would soon be underwater. The mansion Jessica had been so proud of would be the first to go. The office, sir? His driver asked. No. Adam looked at his watch. Take me to Industrial Boulevard. The old office building where he'd started his transformation had been completely renovated, now serving as Grant Technology's research division. But Adam had kept his original office there unchanged, a reminder of where he'd begun and why. The space was dim when he entered, lit only by the afternoon sun filtering through dusty windows. Here, 5 years ago, he had made his vow of revenge. Here, he had begun building the empire that would destroy those who had betrayed him. His phone buzzed again. A text from Samantha. Dad, please. Mom's crying every night. We're sorry. Adam deleted the message without responding. Their tears meant nothing to him now. They had chosen their path, choosing wealth and status over family and loyalty. Now, they would learn that true power wasn't in having money. It was in knowing how to take it away. The sun set over Industrial Boulevard, casting long shadows through the office windows. Somewhere across town, Jessica and Ethan were probably arguing about their dwindling options, their perfect world collapsing piece by piece. Let them argue. Let them feel the weight of their choices. Because Adam Grant was just getting started. The real pain was yet to come. The headline scrolled across Adam's tablet screen. Tech giant virtual shield acquired in hostile takeover. Coal empire crumbles. Multiple properties in foreclosure. Grant Technologies announces billion-dollar education initiative. Claire entered his office, tablet in hand. Sir, the transition team reports Virtual Shield's key personnel have all accepted our offers. Mr. Cole's remaining executives resigned this morning. And the real estate situation? The banks are calling in their loans. The Crystal Heights mansion goes to auction next week. Claire paused. Mrs. Cole tried to reach you again. She's becoming insistent. Adam set down his tablet. Define insistent. She's in the lobby, sir. Has been for 3 hours. Security wasn't sure how to handle it, given your history. A cold smile crossed Adam's face. Send her up. Minutes later, Jessica Cole stepped into his office. The designer clothes that had once fit her perfectly now hung loosely on her frame. Her jewelry was conspicuously absent. Dark circles shadowed her eyes, poorly concealed by expensive makeup she could no longer afford. Quite a change from our last meeting, Adam observed, his tone detached. No more threats about restraining orders? You've made your point, Jessica's voice cracked. Whatever this revenge is... Revenge? Adam interrupted, his tone remaining conversational. I'm simply conducting business. Isn't that what you wanted? A man who understood ambition? Stop it. Jessica stepped forward. You've destroyed everything. The house is being auctioned. Ethan's companies are bankrupt. Samantha had to leave her school. How tragic. Adam stood and walked to the window, staring out at the city below. Tell me, Jessica, do you remember what you said to me that night? Call me a loser? Said I was afraid to take risks. I was wrong, Jessica admitted, her words trembling with pain. Is that what you want to hear? You've won. You're successful. You're everything I accused you of not being. Adam turned to face her, his eyes as cold as steel. You think this is about success? Isn't it? She asked, desperation creeping into her voice. You built all this to prove. I built this. Adam cut her off, his voice sharp, because you and your daughter taught me an invaluable lesson. Love is weakness. Loyalty is a fairy tale. The only thing people like you understand is power. That's not true. Jessica's composure cracked further. We made a mistake. We were shallow and greedy. But what? Adam's voice remained steady, cutting through her defenses. You're sorry now that your perfect life is collapsing? Now that your husband can't afford your shopping sprees? Now that Samantha has to face the consequences of your choices? She's your daughter, Jessica pleaded. No, Adam's response was like a blade. She made her choice, just like you did. She chose designer clothes over decency, luxury over loyalty. Now she can live with that decision. Jessica sank into a chair, tears streaming down her face. Please, we have nothing left. The credit cards are canceled. The accounts are frozen. We can't even afford a lawyer to fight the foreclosure. How does it feel? Adam asked quietly. Watching everything slip away? Knowing you can't stop it? What do you want from us? Jessica whispered, her voice breaking. Want? Adam laughed, the sound devoid of warmth. I have everything I want. A successful company, respect in the business community, the power to choose who rises and who falls. He echoed the words from their country club confrontation. Isn't that what you left me for? The intercom buzzed. Mr. Grant? Claire's voice came through. Mr. Cole is here. He's quite agitated. Perfect timing, Adam said, pressing the button. Send him in. Ethan Cole stormed into the office, his formerly immaculate appearance now disheveled. His eyes were wild, and his silver hair was unkempt. You bastards, Ethan shouted. The board meeting, they voted me out. My own company, Virtual Shield is my company now, Adam corrected calmly. The shareholders made their decision. A rather overwhelming majority, as I recall, because you bought their loyalty. Ethan advanced on Adam's desk. You threatened their investments, blackmailed. Careful. Adam's voice turned to ice. Unfounded accusations of criminal behavior could complicate your legal situation. I understand the SEC is quite interested in your trading history. You engineered all of this. Ethan's rage deflated into desperation. Years of planning just to destroy us. Years of building, Adam corrected. The destruction? That was all you're doing. Over-leveraged properties, risky investments, poor management decisions. I simply observed. Observed? Jessica stood, her voice trembling. You systematically dismantled our lives. No, Jessica. I showed you what real ambition looks like. What a real man can do when properly motivated. Adam's smile was predatory. How does it feel being on the other side of destruction? The office door opened again. Samantha Cole stepped in, her designer clothes replaced by off-the-rack wear, her previous arrogance now replaced by defeat. Dad, she started, but Adam held up his hand. That title no longer applies. You made that very clear 5 years ago. I was stupid. Tears filled Samantha's eyes. I was a spoiled brat who chose money over family? Adam's voice remained steady. Who laughed at my pathetic life while dreaming of mansions and luxury cars? Well, congratulations. You got exactly what you wanted, a front row seat to real power. Please, Samantha sobbed. We're sorry. We were wrong. You were always a good man, and now I'm a successful one. Adam pressed the intercom. Claire, call security. Our unwanted guests were just leaving. You can't do this, Ethan protested weakly. I already have. Adam turned back to his window, dismissing them. Consider this your final lesson in ambition. True power isn't in having wealth. It's in knowing how to take it away. Security arrived, professional and firm, escorting the broken family out. Through the glass walls, Adam watched them shuffle toward the elevator. The mighty Coles reduced to begging. His phone buzzed with a message from Richard. Heard about Virtual Shield. Brutal takeover. You've won, Adam. Maybe it's time to show mercy? Adam deleted the message without responding. Mercy was for the weak. He learned that lesson 5 years ago, watching his wife and daughter walk away with his savings and trust. The sun set over the city, casting long shadows through Adam's office. From this height, he could see his old computer repair shop, now a sleek Grant Technologies retail location. The Industrial Boulevard building had transformed into a cutting-edge research center. The fragments of his old life had been rebuilt into something magnificent. And somewhere out there, Jessica and Ethan Cole were facing their first night of true poverty. No more mansion, no more designer clothes, no more pretending they were better than the man they had once betrayed. Let them suffer. Let them understand the true cost of their choices, because Adam Grant had built his empire not just for success, but for revenge. And revenge, like the best business deals, was all about timing. The game wasn't over. Not yet, but checkmate was inevitable. The autumn wind swept fallen leaves across the grounds of Adam Grant's estate, a sprawling property that made his old house look like a servant's quarters. Through floor-to-ceiling windows, he watched the sunset paint the sky in shades of amber and gold, much like the rare scotch in his crystal tumbler. Mr. Grant? Claire's voice came through the intercom. The final reports from Virtual Shield's restructuring team are ready for your review. Send them through. Adam set down his glass, turning to the elegant mahogany desk that had replaced his old IKEA furniture. His computer screen filled with data. Profits up 300% since the takeover. Market share doubled, stock price reaching record highs. He smiled to himself. This wasn't the end. It was just the beginning. His phone buzzed with a message from Richard. Saw the Cole Mansion auction results. Sold for pennies on the dollar. Word is they're living in a 2-bedroom apartment now. Karma's a cruel teacher. Adam allowed himself a small smile. The mighty Coles reduced to living like common people. How fitting. The intercom buzzed again. Sir, there's a situation at the main gate. Explain. Mrs. Cole and Miss Samantha are here. They're quite insistent about speaking with you. Adam checked his security feeds. There they stood at his gate, looking nothing like the proud women who had walked out of his life 5 years ago. Their clothes were plain, their jewelry gone. Their expensive car had been replaced by what appeared to be a used Honda. How long have they been there? Almost an hour, sir. Security followed protocol and denied entry, but they won't leave. They're saying they have nowhere else to go. Adam studied their images on the screen. Jessica's carefully maintained beauty had faded, stress lines marking her face. Samantha, once so proud of her designer wardrobe, wore off-the-rack clothes that couldn't quite hide how thin she had become. Sir, Claire prompted, should I have security remove them? Adam stood, straightening his tie. No, let them in. Have Marcus escort them to the front door. Are you sure that's wise? They're hardly a threat anymore. Adam moved to his living room, positioning himself near the panoramic windows. Besides, this moment has been 5 years in the making. Minutes later, the doorbell echoed through the mansion. Adam waited, letting them stew in anticipation. Through the security feed, he watched them shift nervously on his doorstep, their previous arrogance replaced by desperate hope. Finally, he nodded to his security chief. "Let them in, Marcus. Stay close." The heavy door opened, and Jessica and Samantha stepped into his world. Their gasps at the mansion's opulence were audible. The marble floors, crystal chandeliers, and priceless art must have felt like a slap in the face. Everything they had wanted but could no longer have. "Adam," Jessica's voice trembled. "Thank you for seeing us." He didn't turn from the window. "Why are you here?" Jessica's voice cracked. "We have nowhere else to go. Ethan, he left last week. The divorce papers came yesterday." "How unfortunate." Adam's tone suggested it was anything but. The great Ethan Cole, abandoning his family. Who could have predicted such behavior? "Please," Samantha stepped forward. "Dad, we made a terrible mistake. We were wrong. You were always a good man." "Stop." Adam finally turned, his expression cold. "That word, Dad, you surrendered the right to use it when you chose luxury over loyalty. When you mocked my pathetic life and celebrated my humiliation. I was young and stupid." Samantha's tears flowed freely now. "I didn't understand." "Didn't understand what?" Adam's voice remained steady. "That actions have consequences? That betrayal carries a price? Or that the man you dismissed as a loser would become someone you'd have to beg for help?" Jessica moved to stand beside her daughter. "Adam, please. Look at what you've accomplished. You've proven us wrong. You've built something magnificent. Isn't that enough?" "Enough?" Adam laughed, the sound devoid of warmth. "You think this was about proving something? About success?" Adam's voice was calm, yet each word struck like a whip. "Then what was it about?" Jessica's desperation showed in her trembling hands. "You've destroyed us completely. The house, the cars, our reputation. Everything's gone. Even Ethan abandoned us when the money ran out." "Exactly." Adam stepped closer, towering over them in his perfectly tailored suit. "Now you understand what real power is. Not the shallow wealth you chased. Not the status you craved." He leaned in, his voice dropping lower, colder. "Real power is the ability to take everything from someone, just like you took everything from me." "We're sorry," Samantha sobbed, her tears flowing freely. "We've learned our lesson. Please, we have nowhere else to go." Adam studied them silently, his sharp gaze cutting through their facade. These broken shadows of the proud women who had once walked out of his life. Jessica's designer dress had been replaced by department store clearance. Samantha's manicured nails were now chipped and uneven. They had lost everything they valued, everything they had betrayed him for. "You know what the difference is between us?" Adam's voice carried no emotion, only cold finality. "When you left me with nothing, I built something. I turned betrayal into motivation, pain into power. But you," he gestured at their shabby appearance, "you can't even handle losing your borrowed luxury. What do you want from us?" Jessica whispered, her voice trembling. "What will it take to end this?" "In it." Adam turned back to the window, watching the last rays of sunlight fade into the horizon. "This ended 5 years ago, when you chose greed over loyalty. Everything since then has just been inevitable." "Dad, please," Samantha tried again, her voice small and pleading. "We've changed. We understand now what really matters." "What matters?" Adam cut her off, turning to face them with an icy glare. "Let me tell you what matters. Trust matters. Loyalty matters. Family matters. But you didn't understand that 5 years ago, and you don't understand it now. You're not here because you've changed. You're here because you have nowhere else to go." The truth of his words hung in the air, heavy as storm clouds. Through the window's reflection, he could see them standing there, broken and desperate, waiting for mercy they didn't deserve. "Marcus," Adam called to his security chief. "Show them out." "Adam, wait." Jessica's voice rose in panic. Please, we'll do anything. Anything? Adam turned back, his eyes cold as steel. Like you did anything for Ethan's money? Like you did anything to secure your luxury lifestyle? Your words mean nothing to me. They're as empty as your promises of love and loyalty were. Dad, Samantha started, but Adam's glare froze her in place. I told you not to call me that, Adam said, his tone sharp enough to cut glass. The daughter I loved died the day she chose designer labels over human decency. The wife I trusted vanished when she traded loyalty for luxury. What stands before me now are just consequences. Marcus stepped forward, professional and firm. This way, ladies. You can't do this. Jessica's composure finally shattered, her voice breaking into sobs. We have nothing left. Wrong, Adam said, turning away for the final time. You have exactly what you deserve. Now you can live with it, just like I lived with your betrayal. He listened as their protests faded, their pleas for mercy echoing through his marble halls. Through the security feed, he watched them walk down his driveway, their shoulders slumped in defeat. The night had fully descended now, the city lights twinkling in the distance. Somewhere out there, Jessica and Samantha Cole would face their new reality. A life without wealth, without status, without the man they had once betrayed. Let them face it. Let them understand the true cost of their choices. Adam Grant had learned the hardest lesson of all. Sometimes the best revenge isn't in destruction, but in refusing to offer salvation when destruction comes on its own. His empire stood as a testament to that truth. Every dollar earned, every acquisition made, every success achieved. They were all steps on the path that led to this moment. The moment when those who had once thought him weak discovered just how strong he had become. The intercom buzzed one final time. Sir, they're gone. Should we update the security protocols to prevent future visits? No need, Adam replied, lifting his glass of scotch. They won't be back. They finally understand. Understand what, sir? Adam smiled faintly, watching his reflection in the window. Successful, powerful, untouchable. That some bridges, once burned, can never be rebuilt, and some betrayals can never be forgiven. The night deepened around his mansion, and somewhere in the city, two women faced their first night of true hopelessness. Their tears meant nothing to him now. Their suffering was merely the final move in a game they had started, but he had mastered. Checkmate. Later that night, Adam stood on his mansion's balcony. The city lights spread before him like a sea of stars. The evening's confrontation had left him not triumphant, but coldly satisfied. Like closing a complex business deal, everything had proceeded exactly as planned. His phone buzzed. Richard again. Heard your ex-wife and daughter paid you a visit. Gossip is already spreading through Crystal Heights. Some are calling you cruel for turning them away. Adam typed his response. Cruel would have been giving them false hope. The reply came swiftly. There's a difference between revenge and punishment, Adam. You've won. They've lost everything. Won? Adam gazed out over his empire. The Grant Technologies tower dominated the skyline, its illuminated logo visible from miles away. Below, his fleet of luxury cars gleamed in the curved driveway, each one worth more than his entire old computer repair shop. The intercom chimed. Mr. Grant, your evening briefing is ready. Go ahead, Claire. Virtual Shield's integration is complete. Stock price closed at an all-time high. The Cole Mansion has been cleared for demolition. Construction for the new Grant Technologies Research Center begins next week. Adam smiled. The symmetry was poetic, building his future on the literal ruins of Ethan's past. Also, Claire continued, Ms. Cole's college application was rejected. It appears her previous school's sudden closure due to unpaid fees raised red flags. And Jessica, sources say she's applying for retail positions. No callbacks yet. Your foundation's anonymous tip about her financial impropriety has proven effective. Adam walked back inside, passing walls adorned with priceless art. Any word from Ethan? Last seen boarding a flight to Singapore. Economy class. The authorities there have been notified about the SEC's ongoing investigation. Perfect, Adam said, savoring the thought. The mighty Ethan Cole, fleeing an economy like a common criminal. His security chief's voice followed next. "Sir, we've cleared the gate area, but you should know, Ms. Cole left something behind." Adam switched to the security feed. There, propped against the gate, was an old photo album. He recognized it instantly. Family pictures from before the betrayal. Samantha's childhood milestones, holiday gatherings, the life they had thrown away. "Have it brought to my study?" Minutes later, Marcus delivered the worn album. Adam opened it slowly. Each page was a testament to what his wife and daughter had destroyed. The memories stirred nothing in him now. The past belonged in the past. Closing the album, Adam set it aside, turning his focus to the plans for his next acquisition. Jessica and Samantha had chosen their path. Now they would live with the consequences. Adam Grant had no more room for ghosts. Samantha's first bicycle ride. Her father teaching her patiently. Family vacations where happiness hadn't depended on luxury hotels and designer clothes. "Sir," Claire's voice was hesitant. "The contractors need your final approval for the Cole Mansion demolition. They can start at dawn." Adam stared at a photo of Samantha's 16th birthday. She was hugging him, her smile genuine then, untainted by greed and status-seeking. Jessica stood nearby, watching them with what he had once believed was love. What a fool he'd been. "Sir, the contractors? Tell them to proceed." Adam closed the album. "And Claire? Have my car ready in an hour. There's somewhere I need to be." The night air was cool as Adam's Bentley glided through the city streets. They passed his old neighborhood, now dwarfed by the shadows of luxury high-rises. His former house had been replaced by an upscale coffee shop, another piece of the past erased. "Stop here," he instructed his driver. The car pulled up across from a modest apartment building. Through a second-floor window, he could see Jessica and Samantha sitting at a small table in what appeared to be their new home. No crystal chandeliers, no designer furniture, just two women facing the consequences of their choices. Adam watched. Samantha buried her face in her hands, her shoulders shaking. Jessica reached across the table, trying to comfort her daughter. The gesture reminded him of earlier days, when their family had been real, when love hadn't come with a price tag. His phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "You've taken everything. Are you happy now? Jay." Adam typed back. Happiness was never the goal. He watched as Jessica read his message, saw her shoulders slump in final defeat. She understood at last. This hadn't been about money, success, or even happiness. It had been about justice, cold, merciless, and complete. "Take me home," he instructed his driver. Back at his mansion, Adam walked to his private study. The photo album sat on his desk, a relic of a life that seemed centuries old. He opened his safe, placed the album inside, and closed it firmly. The past was locked away, just like his capacity for forgiveness. Through the study windows, the first light of dawn painted the sky. In a few hours, demolition would begin on the Cole Mansion. By sunset, another piece of their fantasy life would be reduced to rubble. Let them watch it fall. Let them understand that every luxury they'd betrayed him for had been as temporary as their loyalty. His intercom buzzed one final time. "Sir, the sun's rising. The demolition crews are in position. Proceed as planned." Adam turned to watch the dawn. "And Claire? Clear my schedule for the morning. I want to watch this personally, because this was his legacy. Not just the empire he'd built, but the lesson he'd taught. Power wasn't penthouses, designer clothes, or social status. Real power was in watching those who had betrayed you realize exactly what they had lost." The morning sun rose over his domain, casting long shadows across manicured lawns and marble floors. Somewhere in the city, Jessica and Samantha faced another day of poverty and regret. Somewhere in Singapore, Ethan Cole hid from his failures in economy class. And here stood Adam Grant, the man they once called a loser, surveying the empire he had built from the ashes of their betrayal. He felt no guilt, no remorse. They had chosen their path. He had simply shown them where it led. In the end, Adam Grant didn't just rebuild his life. He reshaped it into something untouchable. Betrayal had forged him, but revenge defined him. As the sun rose over his empire, Adam knew one truth. Some losses are permanent, and some victories last forever.